It took some doing, right? It's not called the Secret Podcast for nothing. Emil Amok here. This is our secret podcast, Emil Amok's Takeout. My takes on all things considerable. And do you have your Biden-Trump debate bingo card at the ready? And I just discovered this. Axios actually put it out. You know, I love Axios. You know, if you're an ADHD type, it's news for the ADHD types out there. And they had a story saying how, you know, not many people are paying attention to this. There's not as many people talking about, you know, drinking games and whatnot. And then they said, well, here's a bingo card. And it may be the thing that gets people paying attention to this debate that's coming up. It's historic. The only one who seems to be really making hay about it is CNN. I mean, they're hosting it. It's the earliest debate ever between these two, one former, one current president. I think it happened once before. Harrison, I think I heard. But anyway, this is historic. It's historic mostly because it's so early in the game. Because most people around July 4th are thinking about patriotism and thinking about, you know, whether or not they fit in their bikini, both men and women, by the way. And they just aren't ready to wrap their heads around an election in November that seems it seems to be a choice between, you know, do you want the old platter or the new platter or the new old platter? It's like you got two choices in the buffet. And all of it's been out there. It's all like leftovers, and no one seems excited. That's because this is really a referendum on who's enthusiastic, who's excited, or who's embarrassed. It's the 3 E's of politics. Embarrassed? There's a lot to be embarrassed if you're a Republican. And you're trying to hide that. So who's enthusiastic in a authentic way? Who's excited about any of these candidates? That's the hard part. That's really what this is all about, this debate. It's to see if they can get people enthusiastic, get people excited, get people to care. And maybe the best thing, Axios showed a debate card, a bingo card. Every time someone mentions one of these topics, of course you get a free space, right? But you got someone mentions the term perfectly innocent. Who might mention that? Who might mention rigged? Who might mention the drug test? Oh, we know who's going to mention the drug test. Those are 3 Trump things. How about Biden things? Well, someone trips. That's a Trump thing. Crooked. Come on, man. That's a Joe Biden thing. Biden's going to mention Obama. You know, there are other things on this card. Mods accused of not playing fair. Oh, moderators accused of not playing fair. Okay, you got to include the moderators. Border crisis, people are going to talk about that. I think people are going to talk about, and I guess the idea is that every time someone mentions one of these things, you mark it on your bingo card. And first to bingo, hey, at least it keeps you through the first, well, you got to get, it's a 90-minute debate starting at 9 o'clock Eastern time. Some people think, hey, it's going to be hard to get through the first 30 minutes. There is going to be commercials. And I know that some people poked fun at CNN for saying how the mics will be muted and for demonstrating that. But I think it's important because what you're going to have a split screen where you're going to have one guy talking and then the other guy's going to be muted like, And but he's going to be able to hear. They're 8 feet apart, so they'll be able to hear. 8 feet, that's about 1.5 Filipinos, but on average. But they should be able to hear, so he's still going to be distracted. And of course, the lip readers will be out there on X or social media saying, oh, this is what he's saying. So it should be entertaining. They're trying to make it entertaining, but a lot of people just aren't into this. And I look at what happened to me last night. I went to a comedy club, just talking to people, just getting a gauge of if anyone is paying attention. Most of the people in the comedy club are, maybe 25 to 35, 25 to 40. First of all, none of the comics would even bother to mention the debate. I mean, I only stayed for, like an hour. But no one mentioned the debate. No one mentioned Trump by name. They mentioned Biden. How did they mention Biden? They mentioned Biden because he's old. They mentioned there's someone telling a grandpa joke mentioning Biden. And it's a young person. What this tells me is there's a general reluctance in the culture to embrace Joe Biden. And it's just downright ageist. I don't like it. I don't like it. In a comedy situation, people are already saying, like, I don't want to talk about Trump because if I talk about Trump, I could either alienate or polarize, or people will embrace me, maybe, but it's as good a bet that people be alienated, so people don't mention Trump. Biden, everyone agrees. Oh, he's old. So people, I've noticed in general comments, the comedy world at least, will mention Biden jokes, but it's ageist. I mean, there's a way to talk about both. Like to say that both of them are like leftovers at the buffet, at the lunchtime buffet. Like, yeah, no one likes it. And that's the problem. I guess they're called, some of the pundits have used the term double haters. But I think it's good that we have this debate because we see that these are our options. They're not going to change. Some people are holding out hope and leaking stories out. Oh, the Democrats are going to replace their guy. Or no, I don't think it's going to happen. This is our choice. And if you want to be part of America, you take part, you engage, you pay attention. I don't see how there's an option not to, but there are some people who are, you practically have to pry it out of them that, number one, they're interested, or number two, that they're going to pay attention and watch the debate tonight. Most people say, oh, I was doing something else. I'm going to watch the Giants are playing a day game. You can't use that excuse. There's nothing more important than this debate. That's why 70 million people, even though they're not saying it out loud, they're going to be watching. And if you watch this on a repeat, I'll tell you what they're going to talk about. I'll tell you what they're going to talk about. It actually is a little scoop. They're going to talk about that 2025 report. I mean, what else really is there to talk about, right? I mean, the 2025 report that John Oliver has talked about on his show, and really as a warning about what Trump is going to do. The Department of Life, are you kidding me? That's what Trump's going to do. And essentially, they don't have to codify the theocracy, the coming modern theocracy of America, but basically conservatives, the Heritage Foundation, have already in this Project 2025 pretty much have given the blueprint that Donald Trump will follow. In the same way that Donald Trump followed the conservative court folks, in terms of, who is the mindset that would qualify for an appropriate judge under a Trump administration. All of them, the Gorsuch, Amy Coney Barrett, Kavanaugh, they all have been from this, essentially a conservative vetting process. And now that Trump has been through one term, ousted because people came to their senses, but the smelling salts are wearing thin. And now people are saying, hey, this is how you, if you get a second bite at the apple, this is how you do it, Donald Trump. And Trump, of course, is taking him up on it because he wants Swamp Party 2. He's the guy who ran against the swamp, but he wants his own swamp for a second time. And you got to worry about that. But that's essentially what Biden's going to do. He's going to attack that Project 2025, and you'll hear it, and you'll hear, I don't know what Trump's going to say. He's going to say, well, that's Heritage Foundation stuff. That's the extreme right. That's not me. But we know it is. I mean, it's not officially the Republican platform, but Heritage has Trump's ear, and that's the direction he's going. Modern theocracy, abortion, this ruling about Idaho really postponing what is a truly restrictive ban on abortion. I mean, they've kicked the case back down to the lower courts, but it's going to come back. And when it comes back, the court isn't going to look as reasonable as it did by kicking it back. It's going to probably approve the ban. That's what's at stake if you vote for Trump. And if you vote for the bent of the Republican Party these days. Now, there's one case that happened today that is worth talking about. And it's the Purdue case. And that Purdue case is interesting because of how, I gotta find it here, how the justices came down on I gotta find it here. How the justices came down on the decision. Let me find it. Well, essentially, what the courts did is it threw back the settlement that the Purdue, in the Purdue Pharma case, with the oxycodone, because it protected. They didn't like the protections that it gave the Sacklers. And it also, by doing that, it also, let's see, legal odyssey for OxyContin maker Purdue Pharma and its owners is complex. Let's see here. The Supreme Court on Thursday rejected a deal for the company to settle thousands of lawsuits over the toll of opioids through bankruptcy court. Okay. The deal was to be financed largely through the company being converted to a public benefits corporation, with profits being used to fight the opioid crisis and the owners kicking in up to $6 billion for the same purpose. That sounds pretty good, but it was a 5-4 decision by the court. The court rejected the plan because it would have extended protection from civil lawsuits to company owners who didn't seek bankruptcy protection themselves, and not all the parties agreed to that. So there was still some disagreement about the bankruptcy, but the court said that it was unfair because, let's see. Well, the bottom line is we don't get the billions of dollars that would have been used to help the opioid crisis. And we don't get this new public entity that would try to undo what the Sacklers did. The Sacklers don't get the protection they wanted, and now I guess we're back at square one. But the reason why this is important, I think, is if you look to see how, which justices were in on this decision. And we had Roberts and Sotomayor both on the same side here. The court rejected the plan because it would have extended protection from civil lawsuits to company owners who didn't seek bankruptcy. Okay, we went over that. But the key thing about this is when you get Sotomayor and Roberts on the same side, you got to look at this case. You got to see how, you got to interpret how the 5-4 breaks down, because this may be the ideal form of the case, or the ideal form of the courts. Because, you got 6-3s, you got 5-4. The question is, it's a weird court, but you're always going to have Alito and Thomas. So how do the liberals split, and who joins the liberals? So a 5-4 decision, how do the 5-4s work out? This is a case to look at a little closer. Now I had the I just can't find the original story that I had that showed who actually voted, how they voted. It's 5-4, but in one script or one in one story, it broke down how they ruled. God, I can't find it. Oh well. Anytime you get Roberts and Sotomayor on the same issue, that's the court we want, right? Alito and Kavanaugh, or Alito and Thomas, they're two on the bad side. When you get Roberts and Sotomayor on the same side, generally you'll find Kagan and Ketanji Brown Jackson. That's 4. Who's the 5th? Amy Coney Barrett? Gorsuch? Gorsuch is over there with Thomas and Alito. Kavanaugh probably with Thomas and Alito. Amy Coney Barrett, is she the... it's hard to figure out this court. But it wouldn't be this hard if we voted right for the president, for the presidency, who picks all these people, right? He gets the final say. And even when, we know that Merrick Garland should have been a Supreme Court justice, but he was blocked by the Republicans. You can't get through that unless you have the stars and the planets lined up. God, I wish I had that story. I had that story here, and it pretty much said the 5-4, how the 5-4 voted. And now I do not have that story. All right, well, look at that case. The Sackler case is because I wasn't sure about the settlement either when I first heard it come down, but it's over OxyContin, right? I just talked to a friend. He's on OxyContin because of the pain. And I said, you watch out. He said, I need it. I need it. I said, yeah, well, that's a problem. You can be addicted to it. But that's a case that's going to be overshadowed somewhat because of all the news of the day, especially the abortion ruling. The Supreme Court also ruled that they stripped the SEC of a critical enforcement tool in fighting securities fraud in a decision that could have far-reaching effects on other regulatory agencies. That was a 6-3 vote. Said that people accused of fraud by the SEC have a right to a jury trial in federal court, which could be good, could be bad if it bogs down the opportunity to regulate, right? If you say, oh, no, you get to go to trial, okay, that we thought we could take this matter quickly, but now you're going to sue us, so it's going to be less effective. Now, this is a case where Roberts and Sotomayor were opposite. And Roberts said a defendant facing a fraud suit has the right to be tried by a jury of his peers before a neutral adjudicator. And that's the conservative majority. Sotomayor, read from her dissent, said that litigants who seek to dismantle the administrative state would rejoice in the decision. And look who her in this 5-4 decision. It's always Sotomayor, Ketanji Brown Jackson, and Elena Kagan. Oh, this is a 6-3 decision. So this was pro Wall Street. This was pro business. And so to me, you look at these Supreme Court cases and the barometers are, where's Roberts and where's Sotomayor? If they're apart, we're doomed. If they're together, we have a hope for a better country, better society, more fairness. This is looking at the Securities and Exchange case that the Supreme Court ruled today, 6-3 vote. Different from the 5-4 in the Sackler case. But that case, Roberts, Sotomayor, together. And that's why maybe that's a better, it's all compromise, right? But maybe that's a better compromise. Anyway, just looking at the news and how does it relate to the debate tonight? Well, you look at SCOTUS, and if you're upset by any of these decisions, look at who appoints them. Look who has the power to appoint. And see how valuable that vote for president that you may be saying, it's not important. Oh, they're the same. Tweedledee, tweedledum. No, it's important. It's important. And that's why, as I said, when Joe Biden is talking about, according to this Axios report, going after Project 2025, the Heritage Foundation, the Conservative Heritage Foundation's plan to essentially reformat democracy, it's important. And even if the actual vote is for Biden or Trump, two essential leftovers that no one really likes, you got to choose. because one leftover is better than the other. Clearly. And it's important because they will choose the younger folks who will be in place and determining your life, the things that happen in your life for decades. What's 50 years, right? What's 50 years when you're 20? Well, it's most of your life. Or what if you're 50 or 60? Then you're dead. You're dead before you can make a change. These are important decisions. And so it hurts me that a lot of people are just checked out. A lot of people are just like, yeah, I don't pay attention. Government happens without me. No, government happens. Well, if it happens without you, government is happening to you. It's better to be a part, to participate by voting your choice. I'm not going to tell you to vote for, but voting your choice. I mean, that's the important thing. And a lot of people are so checked out. Debate what debate? There's a reason why it's happening now in the end of June. And that's because, well, it's important. And if things don't get shaken up somewhat for the Biden camp, they may not be able to turn the ship around in the campaign in July and August, September, October. That may be too late. Got to turn it around now. And for Trump, he's got his allies doing all they can to keep other cases from coming up. And he's riding high, which is the strange thing about where we are now in our American democracy. We have someone who is a convicted felon, 34 counts, and no one seems to care. It's like, this is the way it's done in America. Well, you want to talk about, you hear Trump say this all the time. Oh, we're becoming a banana republic. Well, he's making it a banana republic. Because where but in banana republics is there a strong man, and where people get by greasing palms, by skirting the rule of law. And what better way to assure America becomes a banana republic if you see the person aspiring to the highest office of the land not caring whether or not he has 34 guilties, felony counts, felony verdicts, guilty, thinking that, oh, I can fight this. I can keep this from becoming real. And the only way he can do that is if he reformats our democracy. And I don't think that's what we want, is it? Anyway, pay attention. And if it helps, the bingo card may help. The bingo card actually may be a great helper. I think you can find it on Axios.com. Oh, let me put it this way. You get, every time someone mentions 34 counts, you mark it down. Or you can play a drinking game. Every time someone mentions 34 counts, every time someone mentions Putin, Obama, make up your own bingo cards. Or your drinking game cards. Or your drinking word. It's going to be entertaining. It's going to be entertaining. It should be. But is it only entertaining for for nerdy types, I think it should be entertaining for everyone to see. Anyway, my prediction is Trump is not going to control himself. And I think he's going to blow it in the same way he blew it in 2020. I mean, people were saying that, oh, that's how Trump blew it in 2020. He came out too aggressively. They say, the reports are saying that, oh, Trump is going to try to be more presidential. It's not in his DNA. He won't have a crowd to goad him, so maybe he'll know that, oh, this is a studio. I got to play to the people who are here. Dana Bash, Jake Tapper, the moderators. Play to Joe Biden. All I know is that when I moderated debates, and every time I've moderated a debate, I've had the good fortune of having candidates who are well behaved. I've had no one who would just run over, despite your attempts to try to control and say, please, sir, please, thank you. You know, that's what you do when you moderate. Most of the time you're keeping time, say time, sir, you've gone over your time. I've done it for Senate debates, congressional debates, the House, local debates. I have to say, it is unrewarding. I mean, you're honored to be there, but you are really just making sure that everyone plays by the rules. And in a debate, it's all about not going over time, not speaking over the other person. And I had fairly genteel candidates, no one like a Trump. And if they were, they didn't show up. Remember, that was always like a ploy. Oh, that person's not here. We're not important enough. So we'll put an empty chair and his name tag there to show this is how much he thought of us to not be here. I mean, that was the most outrageous thing that people did in the old days. Now, Trump has brought on he's changed things for the worse. I mean, and it's like when people see that, they say, oh, he can do that? We can do that? And then good luck to the moderators. So who knows? If Trump is true to form and is a rule breaker, maybe he'll just continue to break all the rules tonight. But I would hope that he believes that there's something to being presidential. And then America can see side by side a true comparison. Who is more presidential? So we'll see. I'm going to come back tomorrow after the debate with my thoughts. I'm not going to do it live, but people catching this after the debate will see what I think, or what I thought pre-debate. I think that it's almost impossible for Trump to be presidential. How can he? I don't think he will be able to, given what Joe Biden can confront Trump on. If Biden's going to mention the convictions, if Biden's going to mention January 6th, if Biden's going to mention immigration, as he will, because what Biden has done just in the last couple of weeks has been a positive in terms of the problem at the southern border. Of course, neither candidate has an answer in terms of really coming up with comprehensive reform. So given all the scenarios. And then IKEA, or rather the economy. Here's my thing on the economy. I mean, no one really is good on the economy. I mean, except it all depends on if you're rich or poor. If you're rich, you might prefer Trump because he'll cut your taxes. But he will almost assuredly raise the federal debt and cause more inflation. So if you choose, if you're choosing Trump because he's the best inflation, he's not the best inflation fighter. If you choose Biden because Biden is going to shift the burden to the rich and the corporations. He's going to talk about the middle class. He's going to talk about you. But how often do we see people voting against their own self-interest? That's the weird thing about Trump. Trump is all about his self-interest and trying to make it look like, oh, he's really your self-interest because he's for the rich and you want to be rich. So you say, yeah. But in terms of where you are, in terms of the middle class, who's going to help? I think Biden has a better economic plan. Actually, I had a better economic plan. That you take both of them shopping to IKEA. If they blow the budget in IKEA, then that's not presidential. All right, so assuming they stick to a budget and they buy the necessary furniture, what they need in IKEA, they take it home to your home and they put it together. They put the furniture together. And if they're smart enough to do that, that's the one who should be president. The IKEA test. I mean, it's not like the top of the line furniture, but it's furniture people like. Average, normal American people, albeit it's a Swedish product. But have them go, pick up the furniture, take it home, assemble it. If they can assemble it, that's your guy. That's your guy. That's your guy. That's your guy. All right, one last thing. I recently took a flight to I've taken a couple of flights. And the way I take flights is I go in, I put my personal item underneath, my carry-on up top. I take out my turtle. I have a turtle. And I wrap it around my head. I put on my mask. I am masked in the airplane. You got to be masked. COVID's coming back. You got to be masked. I'm masked in the airplane. And then I'm pretty much wrapped up. I look like the mummy. I look like the mummy or I look like the invisible man. They cannot see me. And, hey, come on. Want some crappy crackers here? You want something to drink? No. I'm like, not partaking. I'm pretty, and one trip was 5 hours, and I was like that for most of it. And one trip was fairly quick, like hour 45 minutes. So that was easy. But I learned today that is called rawdogging. Raw dog. I'd never heard of that before. He said, "Oh, you're rawdogging, Emil." Rawdogging, really? And apparently, I'm told that is a new trend. Can you believe it? Rawdogging is a new trend. Here, let me share this with you. New trend, rawdogging. Now, when I heard of rawdogging, I thought, rawdogging, is that like wearing no underwear? What is rawdogging? But apparently it means to tune out all distractions, including in-flight entertainment, even food and drink on board. In other words, a sort of meditation or mindfulness that monks have been doing for hundreds of years. and not, well, I guess it's not cheating if you fall asleep, but you can fall asleep. But some people, they're going on TikTok. My mom's beige flag is that she raw dogs every flight, no matter how long. This is her on a 9-hour flight. No iPad, no headphones, and no book. At least she's comfy. Go girl. Wow. Seeing that you got these guys. Just raw dog a flight from Orlando to LA. No water, no snacks, no music or entertainment. Seat fully upright. The power of the mind has no limit. Stay hard. Well, I mean, like I said, I didn't realize I was part of a trend. Raw dogging. They call it raw dogging. Or barebacking, they call it. And even the person writing here said it's not a copulative position, which is, I guess, something that they'd say you find in the Kama Sutra or something like that. I thought raw dogging was, when I first heard it, I thought, no, I don't raw. I wear underwear. I wear, no, that's not raw dogging? Okay. Now I sound like Joe Biden, right? Anyway, it's a thing, and I'm glad to be part of a thing. I'm just glad to be part of a thing. It makes me feel very modern. Rada, you should try it. I mean, when I put on my turtle and my mask, I guess that's sort of like semi raw dogging, because maybe I'm really sleeping, or maybe I'm just being antisocial. But it works, and you don't need that water, because you have the water. You're gonna have to, especially if you're in the window, you're gonna have to use the bathroom, and then you gotta go through the excuse me, and then wait in line. Or maybe, I mean, I just find that once I'm in that cocooned mode, I can sleep. I can sleep or just no entertainment. Oh, I do have an Audible book, but does it? If it's a meditative tape, I think that's okay. Anyway, raw doggers unite. If you're a raw dogger, let me know. I just think it's the only way to fly. The only way to fly. All right, we're going to call it a show. There. Sorry I didn't have the input on Purdue. But really, if you're looking at the Supreme Court decisions that are coming down, they didn't do all of them. I think they're going to have some for next week. But wherever Sotomayor and Roberts are together, that's more justice than when they're apart. That's what I look for. I discount Alito and Thomas. They're always going to be opposite me. But I look where Sotomayor is, and then I look to see if Roberts follows. And if he does, there's a good chance for a 5-4, 6-3 for the good. Because usually some of the younger ones, Coney Barrett and Kavanaugh, will follow Roberts. They won't follow Alito and Thomas generally. And that gives you a chance for a 5-4, 6-3 for the good, whatever the issue. That's just the way I look at the court. My way. It's the Emil Amok way. I'm sorry. All right. Enjoy the debate. I'll talk to you tomorrow and let you know how I feel or felt about it. I told you how I feel going in. I hope Joe Biden has a good debate. I hope Donald Trump has a good debate. I hope they can talk, because talking and exchanging would not be a bad thing. But I think that Trump is just all about disruption. Trump is all about, does he really want to do a drug test? I bet you he'll bring that up, because he can't help himself. He can't help himself debate. That's what this is. Anyway, I'd like to close with a little raw dog, a little meditation, a little loving kindness. It works. It works on the airplane. Raw dogging. And so as I wish for me, I wish for you. May you be safe. May you be happy. May you be healthy. And may you live with ease. Emil Guillermo here. Till next time. Mahal